In the serene beauty of the Himalayas, where nature's majesty meets the sky, a routine flight turned into a chilling disaster. On September 28, 1992, Pakistan International Airlines Flight 268 vanished into the mist, leading to one of the most tragic aviation accidents in history. Join us as we delve into the heart-wrenching story of 167 souls lost amidst the clouds, unraveling the gripping details of what went wrong on that fateful descent into Kathmandu. Through survivor testimonies, expert analyses, and haunting visuals, we uncover the fatal errors and the profound aftermath that forever changed aviation safety. On the morning of September 28, 1992, at Jinnah International Airport in Karachi, Pakistan, Pakistan International Airlines Flight 268 was meticulously prepared for its journey to Kathmandu, Nepal. The Airbus A300B4-203 underwent routine pre-flight checks by ground crew, ensuring all systems were operational and the aircraft was ready for the voyage. Passengers boarded with anticipation, while the cockpit crew, led by experienced pilots, reviewed their flight plan and weather conditions. Pakistan International Airlines Flight 268, operating under the call sign Pakistan 268, would embark on its journey from Jinnah International Airport in Karachi to Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu, charting a course of roughly 1,900 kilometers. The flight was expected to take about 3 hours and 45 minutes. Jinnah International Airport, located in Karachi, Pakistan, serves as the country's largest and busiest airport. Named after Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the founder of Pakistan, this bustling hub handles millions of passengers annually with its modern facilities and extensive international and domestic flight operations. The airport features multiple terminals, including a dedicated terminal for international flights, ensuring seamless travel experiences. Pakistan International Airlines, PIA, the national flag carrier of Pakistan, has been a pivotal player in the country's aviation sector since its inception in 1955. Headquartered in Karachi, PIA operates a wide network of domestic and international flights, connecting Pakistan to major cities across Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and North America. Known for its distinctive green and white livery, the airline has a rich history of pioneering achievements, including being the first Asian airline to operate a jet aircraft. The aircraft involved was a 16-year-old Airbus A300B4-100-3, registered as APBCP, serial number 025. Built in 1976, it took its maiden flight on March 23rd of the same year. Initially delivered to Bavaria Germanair on May 2nd, 1977, and registered as Diamaz, it was leased to Egyptair just a week later and re-registered as SUAZ. Following the merger with Bavaria Germanair, it was sold to Hapag-Lloyd Flug and re-registered as DAHLZ. The aircraft was subsequently leased to various airlines, including Egyptair, January 1979, October 1982, Kuwait Airways, April-July 1983, Capital Air, June-October 1984, Air Jamaica, February-April 1985, and Condor Flugdienst, May-November 1985. On April 21, 1986, it joined Pakistan International Airlines and was re-registered as APBCP. At the time of the crash, the aircraft had accumulated 39,045 flight hours and 19,172 landings. On board were 12 crew members, including Captain Iftikhar Janjua, age 49, with 13,192 flight hours, including 6,260 hours on the Airbus A300. First Officer Hassan Akhtar, age 38, had 5,149 flight hours, with 469 hours specifically on the Airbus A300. Additionally, there were 2 flight engineers, an operating flight engineer, a 40-year-old male with 5,289 flight hours, including 2,516 hours on the Airbus A300, and an observing flight engineer, Mohammed Ashraf, age 42, who had 8,220 flight hours, with 4,503 hours logged on the Airbus A300. These experienced crew members were responsible for ensuring the safe operation of Flight 268 on its tragic journey to Kathmandu. Nestled amidst the majestic Himalayas, Tribhuvan International Airport, KTM, has long been notorious as one of the world's most perilous airports. Its treacherous terrain, lack of modern equipment, and harsh weather conditions have transformed it into a daunting challenge for pilots and passengers alike. Perilous location. Tribhuvan sits in Kathmandu, Nepal's capital, at an elevation of over 1,300 meters above sea level. The airport is surrounded by towering mountains on all sides, creating significant obstacles for approach and landing. Equipment deficiencies. In the 1990s, Tribhuvan lacked even radar and navigation systems. Pilots were forced to rely on paper maps and distance measuring equipment, DME, to navigate and position themselves. This demanded exceptional piloting skills and unwavering focus to ensure the safety of each flight. Harsh weather conditions. The airport frequently encounters dense fog, strong winds, and unpredictable weather shifts, especially during the winter. These factors further exacerbate the landing challenge, often forcing pilots to cancel or divert flights. Nearly 3 hours after takeoff, the aircraft reached its cruising altitude of 36,000 feet. Passengers enjoyed breathtaking views of one of the world's most scenic flight paths, reveling in the smooth and tranquil journey. Meanwhile, in the cockpit, the pilots were meticulously planning the descent. Due to the airport's reputation for being hazardous and lacking advanced navigational aids and radar systems, the pilots needed to carefully strategize, including moments of quiet prayer, ensuring a precise and cautious approach. The majestic panorama of the Himalayan range unfolded outside the windows of the giant aircraft. Passengers marveled at the awe-inspiring sight of the world's roof, Mount Everest, towering in the distance. Shortly after, air traffic control at the airport cleared Flight 628 to descend and begin its approach for landing. Moments later, the aircraft reached an altitude of 12,000 feet in preparation for landing. The estimated time from this point to the airport for touchdown was approximately 7 minutes. An obstacle emerged as the aircraft descended to prepare for its approach to the airport. It was the appearance of very thick clouds that obscured the pilot's view. This is a recurring obstacle encountered during the approach to Pakistan International Airport due to its elevation of 4,000 meters above sea level. Provided the pilots execute the necessary procedures with precision, this obstacle should not pose a threat to the safety of the flight. By this time, the flight had been considered uneventful and smooth. The passengers chatted and prepared for their exploration of the Himalayas upon landing. For the descent, the flight will follow the provided flight plan, gradually lowering altitude. The aircraft will pass over each mountain that has been marked on the map. As long as the descent is conducted according to the established procedures, the flight should not encounter any obstacles, aside from the unusually cloudy conditions.
The captain retrieved the flight plan and held it in his hands, unable to see anything outside due to the dense clouds. Upon examining the flight plan, the captain noted that at the first point on the descent path, 16 miles from the airport, they would need to descend to an altitude of 10,500 feet.
The pilots engaged the autopilot and initiated the descent to an altitude of approximately 10,500 feet. The crew had no qualms about the descent procedure, confident that they were adhering to the established guidelines and regulations. The aircraft descended smoothly, unaware of what lay ahead. Upon reaching an altitude of 10,500 feet, the captain once again consulted the flight plan to determine the next descent altitude. The flight plan indicated that at 13 miles from the airport, the aircraft should descend to 9,500 feet. The captain promptly set the next altitude as per the flight plan. The aircraft continued its descent, and the entire crew remained oblivious to the impending danger. The autopilot was set to descend to 9,500 feet. The captain was the sole pilot in control and was also checking the flight plan alone, without the assistance of the first officer. The first officer seemed oblivious and did not cross-check the descent procedure for accuracy.
The dense clouds prevented the pilots, crew, and passengers from seeing the terrain outside the aircraft. They were essentially flying blind, relying solely on the flight plan and the captain's actions.
At this point, the flight had also received clearance from airport ATC to land on runway 02. However, due to the lack of radar, ATC was unaware of the aircraft's current position and trajectory. Following ATC's clearance to land, Flight 628 continued its descent according to the flight plan. The captain consulted the flight plan and determined that the next target altitude for Flight 628 would be 8,200 feet, at a distance of 8 miles from the airport. Without any hesitation or second thought, the captain continued the descent as instructed. Terrain collision warnings are common for aircraft operating in mountainous regions. However, these alerts do not necessarily indicate imminent danger, as flight paths are carefully calculated. As long as pilots adhere to the prescribed procedures, no accidents should occur.
The pilot continued to control the aircraft, descending to the next target altitude of 6,800 feet.
At this point, several terrain collision warnings sounded. The pilots assumed these were routine alerts common in mountainous areas and disregarded them. However, their demeanor gradually shifted as the warnings continued to sound persistently. The atmosphere in the cockpit grew tense, while the passengers and cabin crew remained oblivious. Growing doubt gripped the pilots. They hastily retrieved the flight plan to scrutinize their actions and identify any potential errors. But gradually, the formidable yet treacherous slopes of the Himalayas emerged before them. It was already too late to save the situation.
Pakistan International Airlines Flight 268 crashed into the slopes of the Himalayas at approximately 2:30 p.m. on September 28, 1992, at an altitude of around 7,300 feet, 2,200 meters. The crash claimed the lives of all passengers and crew on board. The accident occurred just 59 days after the crash of Thai Airways International Flight 311, which also happened north of Kathmandu. These two incidents within a span of 2 months turned Tribhuvan International Airport into one of the most dangerous airports in the world, a haunting challenge for pilots.
After the crash, the Nepali military assisted investigators in locating the aircraft's black box. The investigation was led by Andrew Robinson from the Air Accident Investigation Branch, AAIB. The black box was initially sent to Paris for decoding. Eyewitnesses near the accident site confirmed that there was little to no wind, rain, or thunderstorms at the time of impact. Investigators found no technical problems documented for the A300, and, after considering it as a potential cause, subsequently ruled out terrorism. Although no pertinent flight deck conversation was recovered from Flight 268's cockpit voice recorder, data from the flight data recorder, analyzed by the Transportation Safety Board of Canada, TSB, which assisted with the investigation, showed that the aircraft began each step of its descent prematurely. At 16 DME, the aircraft was 1,000 feet below its cleared altitude, and at 10 DME, the Sierra reporting point, it was 1,300 feet below its cleared altitude. The aircraft approached the Mahabharat Range at an insufficient altitude and crashed into the south slope. Despite the pilots of Flight 268 accurately reporting their altitude to air traffic control, the controllers did not warn them about their inappropriate altitude until seconds before the accident. The cause of the accident was the captain's error. While holding the flight map, his thumb inadvertently covered the initial altitude the aircraft needed to descend to for the airport approach. The correct altitude was 11,500 feet, not the 10,500 feet that the captain actually executed. Additionally, when the flight map was placed in front, the air brake lever partially obscured the map. From the pilot's viewpoint, he could not see that the initial descent altitude was supposed to be 11,500 feet. This critical misunderstanding led to the tragic disaster. After the accident, Tribhuvan International Airport was upgraded with more advanced navigational systems and radar, making flights to and from the airport significantly safer.
PIA paid for Stygyar and maintains the Lele PIA Memorial Park at Lele, at the foot of a mountain about 10 kilometers north of the crash site. The Wilkins Memorial Trust, a UK charitable organization that provides aid to Nepal, was established in memory of a family killed in the crash.